The views and opinions expressed on Unlock Your Wealth Radio are those of the host, guests, and callers only and are not necessarily the views of Unlock Your Wealth Radio, Heather Wagenhals, or Success Publishing International.
More willpower than a barefoot woman at a shoe sale. Able to stretch a single paycheck for an entire month. Makes money concepts easier than third grade math. Introducing your purveyor of prosperity, Heather Wagenhals.
Work all day, stress all night. Take your mind off your money, focus on your life. Money don't matter or the stuff it bought. It's the way you think, not what you've got, yeah.
Unlock Your Wealth Radio starts now.
Get your money mind right.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by. We are glad to have you. I'm Heather Wagenhals, and we help you get your money mind right. And on today's show, we'll do it with the following great features. Our key for this week from our Keys to Riches Financial Wellness series is Break the Budget. So it's time to kick that to the curb, and we're going to learn how to create a new healthy savings and spending plan instead. And pay attention to the verbiage. I said savings and spending plan because you need to save first. Yes. And so we will learn how to do that in the next, on today's show. Our moolah word of the day has to do with things that weigh you down. Like, oh my God, but in the financial sense. So things that weigh you down, either financially or from an attractiveness perspective. And so now hopefully I've hooked you into waiting for the moolah word of the day, because it's not a word that you're going to expect it to be. But I thought that would be a great tease, isn't it? Absolutely. Yeah, so our minutes on your money, happily ever after. Is it achievable? Well, our feature from USA Today is going to say, yes, it is, and we're going to learn some steps on how to make that happen just for you. Our trivia question is always based on a previous show, and it will be about our hope for the best, plan for the worst key from last week's show with Chandra Bonfiglio, or C-Bon, if you follow my regular posts on Facebook. And our very special guest today is going to be Dr. Marissa. She is known as the Asian Oprah, and we're going to learn some fabulous things about balance and life and, journaling, and how we can have journaling become part of our success. And for those of you that are avid listeners of the show or have gone through our brain-based financial literacy program at unlockyourwealth.com, you are all familiar with journaling for success because it's one of our modules. So I'm excited for that. We also have our Unlock Your Wealth Radio protege, Lauren Rumpler. She's stopping by to give us an update on how she's doing with her process through financial literacy. As always, we will talk about your money, your credit, and how to get ahead in any economy. And we will also show you how to manage your money easier, saving time and reducing stress, using these proven techniques for you to create unlimited wealth and happiness. So, for Insiders Club members, you are always automatically entered to win weekly giveaways. But let's say you're not a member, but you want to win something cool too? Well, here's how you do it. All you need to do is answer our trivia question. Now, for regular listeners, our trivia question is always based on a previous show. If you are a new listener, never fear, because unlockyourwealthradio.com is here. All you have to do is go and download that episode, because even if you don't enter when the show is broadcast for the first time, you can still download and listen to it later, because if the question hasn't been answered right, you could win fabulous prizes. So, this week's trivia question is, why do we need to rehearse possible negative financial scenarios? So if you remember, our key was hope for the best, plan for the worst. And the question is, why do we need to rehearse possible negative financial scenarios? And if you didn't listen to last week's broadcast, hurry up and download it and go check it out. But first, we have so much more in store for you. If you would like to enter to win, I should probably give you that information because I kind of just almost forgot it, didn't I? No! Come on. Where's my producer? Hello? Why are we paying attention, Michael? Okay, so yeah, he's sleeping. Anyway, so if you would like to call in to win, all you have to do is call 1-866-966-9420. That's 866-966-9420. Or if you're listening live, you can hop in the chat room. Hi, I'm here. Come visit. And then if you want to email in to win, all you have to do is send an email to trivia@uywradio.com. Trivia@uywradio.com to answer this week's trivia question and win fabulous money management tools. Okay, so we want to talk about minutes on your money. And so you kind of wonder, you go through this life, you find somebody, and you think everything is all fabulous and coming up roses. And then 2 kids, 3 dogs, and a divorce later, happily ever after, didn't seem to manage it. And you're like, oh my gosh. So you work hard and you find another happily ever after, or so you hope. What if you actually get to happily ever after? So how can we ensure that we get to happily ever after? And USA Today did a great story on this, and they have a 4-step process for getting to that point. And this is their prescription for a happy relationship in retirement. And the key is that partners need to work together to create a lifestyle they both enjoy and that meets both of their emotional needs. So you have some of your own things to do by yourself, maybe some things to do with your friends, and then things that you guys do together. You're not just like 2 ships passing in the night, aimlessly wandering through life and cohabitating, as opposed to leading a rewarding relationship. And you know, that guy. A psychologist, Robert Bernstein, has friends that he says could be considered role models for a healthy relationship in retirement. And so after they retired from their careers, they both began to do volunteer work right away to fill their time. And they found a balance between being together and being apart, and that their marriage flourished as a result. I have some friends that the wives are like, oh my gosh, I wish my husband would go back to work because he's just puttering around the house and he's getting in my way and it's becoming detrimental. And if you think about it, 1/3 of our lives, 8 hours or more a day, is spent in another environment, building wealth and furthering your legacy, leaving your mark on the world. And so when that stops, what do you do to fill time? Well, volunteering is a great thing. You know, part of the problem is that you know, you go from this short period of time, 2 or 3 hours a day, to all of a sudden 24/7. And it can be problematic, you know. Now, where both members stop working at the same time, it might be difficult. It might be less difficult to fill the void because you both were separate, as opposed to one was still at home while one was still working. So that way your space doesn't get intruded upon if you both choose to go volunteer or find a way to create a similar structure in your day like what you did when you were at work, and you'll be able to create a more harmonious relationship. And this is very, very important because, you know, what happens is when we slip into these negative cycles, we go out and we start spending and doing things that we might not otherwise do. Another scenario that for many couples that have had their jobs that have kept them apart for more than 60 hours a week, they got to get used to doing things with one another. If they spent 60 or more hours a week in a career versus just punching the clock at a job, you know, they might not even have similar interests. One might go play basketball and the other one plays tennis. So how do we kind of work on that? So this is something that we need to think about too, because it affects our financial decisions, because if you've been living financially independent in this marriage, controlling your own budget and all of that, and then all of a sudden now you're reverting to a communal kitty for your retirement, this has a detrimental or a potential detrimental effect. And so being sensitive to the other person's needs when it comes to having their own discretionary income after working and being able to make decisions about, oh, this is what I want to spend for lunch, this is what I want to do. And after all the bills are paid, you have to be able to find a way to connect. So here are some simple guidelines in your golden years that you can use to negotiate enthusiastic agreements on decisions that you can make about your life together to create that happily ever after. I'm getting tongue-tied again. This is from his book, He Wins, She Wins. So first, you want to set ground rules to make negotiation pleasant and safe. So instead of coming to the table with demands, you want to be able to come open-minded. It'll show more respect, and when you become angry, you don't want to be negotiating. You want to be able to walk away. And if you reach an impasse where you don't seem to be getting anywhere, just come back to the table later. You also want to identify the conflict from both people's perspective. So this is got to walk a mile in their shoes. So you want to state the conflict, and you can start to document everything you know about the issue. So start collecting articles or information, and do some research. And then once you figure out what your perspective is, do the same on the other side. Try to figure out where they're coming from and why it's a conflict. If you can understand the other person's position, it might not actually be a conflict at all. And it might not be what is on the table that's being negotiated as the conflict. And you'll be surprised when you start to walk a mile in the other person's shoes and gather all that information and try to figure out what their perspective is, that it might give you some insight on how to create that win-win. And respect is essential when it comes to negotiation. You also want to look for mutually acceptable solutions when it comes to any type of conflict you want to address. So you want to brainstorm with reckless abandon. Don't become the editor, just be the creator. You might be tempted to sacrifice. You might be tempted to give in to your other spouse so you don't have any type of conflict, but that's not a win-win. The growth comes from the conflict. So your goal should be mutual happiness, with neither one having to get at the other's expense. And choose the solution that meets the conditions of mutual and enthusiastic agreement, because many problems are relatively easy to solve if you just take each other's feelings into account and look for the real message, and it could be something simple. Like, I remember one of the things in my first marriage was my first husband used to leave his shoes out, and he could only put them 20 more feet. If he walked 20 more feet, he could have them put away. And in addition to me getting very hurt tripping over them one time in the middle of the night, it's just disrespectful, and so he's thinking I'm always nagging, but he doesn't understand that it's just a sign of respect. Look, you're putting your shoes on my side of the bed. What's the deal with that? Can't you show me more respect? If you're not going to put them away, put them somewhere else on your side of the bed, but not in my way. It's just the respect thing. But the communication could never get conveyed in that fashion. So that's it for our Minutes on Your Money. We have Dr. Marissa Pay. We have Breaking Our Budget, Lauren Rumpler, and our Moolah Word of the Day coming up right after this. You are listening to Unlock Your Wealth Radio. I'm Heather Wagenhals. Stay tuned for more.
Commander Marty Logan here from the Top Gun Seminars. What I've learned over the years is that the most successful people in life have coaches to guide them along their chosen path. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Tony Stewart, Tom Hopkins, Kathy Colby all had coaches. Whether it was their father, someone else's father, or another person who helped them to shape their desires into an achievable path to success with a system of accountability where quitting was the only way to fail. Each of these people had someone who didn't see them as they first were, but as the person inside they knew they could easily become. Financial coaching can be the single addition you need to become financially independent. Call the Unlock Your Wealth Foundation now for your free consultation. 1-866-966-9420. That toll-free number again is 1-866-966-9420. Or visit us on the web at www.unlockyourwealth.com.
I'm Heather Wagenhals. Too much month left over at the end of the money? Tired of paying off debt again like a slave? Then tune in to my 1-minute update on Fort Myers Beach Radio for your morning cup of money motivation. And for more tips, visit crackingyourmoneycode.com.
Looking to take your game to the next level? Maybe you're restless and not sure what to do next in your life? If networking to elevate yourself, looking for inspiration, or being somewhere in between relaxing and making it happen, then the Women of Change Cruise is for you. Join a team of elite women who will take your game to the next level or help you find your game while surrounding yourself with welcoming, accepting women who will affirm, motivate, and inspire you to live your best life starting now. Space is limited. Surf over now and be a part of women just like you who refuse to settle for less and are looking to get more out of this lifetime.
The Women of Change phenomenon. Leave your own mark on the world.
For more information about the Women of Change cruise and upcoming events, please visit our website at womenofchange.org.
Greenback is your neighborhood lender for auto title loans. We offer fast and easy cash title loans for cars, trucks, and motorcycles. Keep your car with title loans from $100 to $50,000. There are no year or mileage limits at Greenback, and we offer the cheapest rates in Arizona, guaranteed. For more information, visit greenbacktitleloans.com or call 480-926-6666.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. You are listening to Unlock Your Wealth Radio, and I am your purveyor of prosperity, Heather Wagenhals. And it is that time for the moolah word of the day. And so I kind of teased you and I said it was like weighing you down, man. So we actually have a singular word of the day because usually it's like it's a pair or a phrase. You notice that, Michael? So it's actually a word this time, a singular word. And that word would be encumbrance. And an encumbrance is anything that diminishes a property's worth or makes it less useful or enjoyable. So an example of that and real estate is one of the most common places you find encumbrances. My not so favorite would be taxes. Because Uncle Sam, I don't care if it's State Sam or Municipal Sam, they're not my favorite relative. And so taxes, mortgages, that's an encumbrance, easements, judgments, liens, and CC&Rs, which is your covenants, conditions, and restrictions for homeowners associations. So all of these things factor into a property's, attractiveness. Now, obviously, some of those taxes are always going to be there. Mortgages, well, if you buy a property, you're going to replace the existing mortgage with your own, more than likely. An easement is what it is. So an easement could be like if you live in a mountainous area, for example, and you have you're in a community, but let's say there aren't any fences, and there's like a pathway for hikers, like a hiking path, and it actually comes across your property, and it's legally recorded against your property as that's not really your 4 feet along the backside of your house, like you think it is. So that is, an easement. And that's a right-of-way access, and it's part of your deal. So the way it makes it less attractive is if you were looking at a property and you wanted to be out in the sticks and you didn't want to be bothered, having a home that's on a hiking trail is probably going to bring a bunch of people that you're trying to escape from seeing. And so perhaps you might want to go find a lot that doesn't have an easement for a hiking trail, if that's your desire. So that's kind of just one example. Another example in the CC&Rs is you can't store your boat or your broken down truck, that you're going to fix sometime when you get enough money to buy the parts and stuff. You can't have that in your yard. Another example is how many dogs you can have, or breed restrictions, say no pit bulls, no Rottweilers, none of that stuff. So you can have silly things like that. That, for some people they find value, but for others it's a detriment. So these are all what they call encumbrances. And this is what is so important about doing a title report and a title search when you go to buy a potential property, because all of these things, all these encumbrances will come up, and that will allow you to make a more effective decision about this particular property. Because if you bought the property and said, oh, I'm not going to read these CC&Rs, they're like, that's like a novel. It's longer than War and Peace, for goodness sakes. Why do I want to read that? And so you say, no, I'm not going to do that. And then all of a sudden you're getting a dues and a fine violation in your mail saying that you've been fined. And you're like, but I didn't know about it. But you kind of knew about it because it was disclosed to you with the encumbrance. And so just because you chose not to pay attention to it, it's a whole different story. So these are things that you got to pay attention to. So encumbrances can affect your life negatively if it's an encumbrance you do not wish to have. So that is our moolah word of the day. And moving on, I am so excited about our guest because she, with a doctorate in organizational psychology, Dr. Marissa, has been speaking, coaching, and facilitating to hundreds of Fortune 500 companies like Johnson & Johnson, Wells Fargo, Cedars-Sinai, AT&T, and Mattel for the past 21 years. A former graduate school professor at Boston University, Brussels, European School of Business, and the Anderson Graduate School of Management, UCLA, boy, she likes to go to school. She has since retired from teaching to write, commentate, and speak. Her best-selling book is a business text, Organization, Development, and Consulting, published by Jossie Bass in 2002, has sold almost 600,000 copies. Her other book, it's a children's book, Mommy, What Are Feelings? And it's been illustrated with her daughters. It's in its third production run, and her long-awaited daily inspirational deck of cards, these 52-card pick-me-ups, is Stacking the Deck for Life Balance with Dr. Marissa. And they were sold out after just 3 months in its launch. And we get to have her here today to help us chat about journaling for success. Welcome to the show, Dr. Marissa.
Thank you, Heather. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so excited to have a psychology expert on because the brain is so critical to every single thing we do. And we just go about life and we don't even realize how important brain health is or thought health is. And we kind of just clip along. And
yes, I have one of my favorite Marissa-isms. It's called, I think, therefore I am screwed.
I like that. I remember that from the I-thou relationships and all of that stuff when I had a psychology course, because I remember my brother would go out and wash his car and he would say, I'm having an I-thou relationship with my car, even though it was an inanimate object. That's great. So I get why you say that. Share with us why you came up with that saying.
Well, if you just listen to the chatter in your head, it is often the most inane things that come in. I call it being in MSU University, which is make shiitake up. And someone will give us a very, an unusual look, and we're off. Our heads are going, oh, I wonder if I said something wrong, or I wonder if she's mad at me, or what did I say yesterday, and, oh, yesterday was not a great day, and, oh, I wonder if the car's okay, and, oh, the car is not, and then, oh, the guy that walked beside the car, I wonder if he, and the chatter that happens spontaneously. I think there's like 50,000 thoughts that pass our brain. I'm not sure exactly what the stats are, but 42.7% of statistics are made up on the spot. Anyways, but my point is the chatter can truly rob us of something that everybody wants in this lifetime, which is inner peace, inner happiness, and calm joy. So the brain and what we tout as intelligence and the importance of intelligence, without harnessing that from the craziness, then we might as well just stay in bed. Because a mind on steroids, or this critical chatter steroid, is really a harmful thing. Most of us have what I call a critic in our head, especially high achievement-oriented people, especially recovering perfectionists and control freaks. We are the hardest person on ourselves. I've heard it over and over with my executive coaching clients. We are our own worst critic. And so when we think unharnessed, all of the woulda, shoulda, couldas come out, all of the blame, shame goes on, all of the, you should have done this, you shouldn't have that. Every success is followed by a, yeah, but you're only as good as your last success, or what about this, and you screwed up here. You get 100 compliments, you get 99 compliments and you get one criticism. Where does your mind go? It doesn't go to the compliments, it goes to the criticism. So the mind and the brain and what we call our intelligence really is impacted by this natural critical tendency that has to be dealt with. You're aware of it, and then I have life balance tools that help you get out of it, journaling being one of them.
You just mentioned a hot button for me about life balance, because one of the things that I find, and perhaps you might have seen this. Now, I'm a kid that grew up in the 70s and 80s, and so we were the first latchkey kids, if you will, and we really started to see the benefits of the women's liberation movement, and moms were going to work and moms were becoming career-oriented and all of that stuff. And what I'm seeing from this most recent generation that's entering the workforce is that because their parents were career-oriented, that they're to the other end of the spectrum, and they use this life balance phrase as a crutch. And the workday at my office is 8 to 5, and people, when I was hiring and I was getting all of these young people, because I wanted that's my demographic, so I kind of wanted those type of people in my office. I was getting like, oh, I can't be here at 8 because my hot yoga's at 9:30, and I am just not going to do what my parents did and work myself to the bone. No, that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so how do we go from that extreme to being completely neurotic and only working? Where do we find that happy balance?
Well, it's work. It's balance. It's finding that balance. And for every action, there's a consequence. So you can go ahead and do your hot yoga, and you can go ahead and do anything you want, but there is a consequence to that. You can work 60 hours a week, and there's a consequence to that. You may not know what your child's favorite color is. So the balance is that midpoint, that center point, where you know that you are doing the best that you can. You're not staying in bed eating bonbons or watching TV, and you're not running around trying to control things. It's that center, and finding that center is an activity that only comes when we get rid of that critical committee in the head. Meditation is another great tool where it gives your mind some opportunity to relax, and you'll find that middle. You'll find that answer for yourself. For you, obviously, the people that are saying they have to be at the hot yoga class, you have the right to say, you know what, that's just not going to work here. So by understanding your own balance, you can choose the people you want to be around you by the way that they are having their balance. But you can't force people to adopt the same balance that you do.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that you can't force it, and it's okay if you want to do hot yoga, but if you want to do hot yoga, that conflicts with working with me. So you need to choose what's more important.
Right. And I'm sure there's an employer out there that will let you come in at noon and leave at 1.
Yeah. And pay you $1 million a year. I want to work for that guy.
Exactly.
Holy smokes. Well,
I've also had clients who have softened on their own understanding or they want more balance, and they realize they have to practice what they preach. So they bring people into their workplace to take a break at 10, and I teach balanced Tai Chi Gong, which is a moving meditation, and we'll come in and we'll do 20 minutes of that in the middle of the day, where instead of going out for a coffee and a cigarette break, we actually have a meditation break, which helps with the creativity.
that's an awesome idea to implement. I have a litany of other questions that I want to ask you once we get back to the break. You are listening to Dr. Marissa Pei on Heather Wagenhall's Unlock Your Wealth Radio. We'll be right back with more right after this.
Commander Marty Logan here from the Top Gun Seminars. What I've learned over the years is that the most successful people in life have coaches to guide them along their chosen path. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Tony Stewart, Tom Hopkins, Kathy Colby all had coaches. Whether it was their father, someone else's father, or another person who helped them to shape their desires into an achievable path to success with a system of accountability where quitting was the only way to fail. Each of these people had someone who didn't see them as they first were, but as the person inside they knew they could easily become. Financial coaching can be the single addition you need to become financially independent. Call the Unlock Your Wealth Foundation now for your free consultation. 1-866-966-9420. That toll-free number again is 1-866-966-9420. Or visit us on the web at www.unlockyourwealth.com.
I'm Heather Wagenhals. Too much month left over at the end of the money? Tired of paying off debt again like a slave? Then tune in to my 1-minute update on Fort Myers Beach Radio for your morning cup of money motivation. And for more tips, visit crackingyourmoneycode.com.
Looking to take your game to the next level? Maybe you're restless and not sure what to do next in your life? If networking to elevate yourself, looking for inspiration, or being somewhere in between relaxing and making it happen, then the Women of Change Cruise is for you. Join a team of elite women who will take your game to the next level or help you find your game while surrounding yourself with welcoming, accepting women who will affirm, motivate, and inspire you to live your best life starting now. Space is limited. Surf over now and be a part of women just like you who refuse to settle for less and are looking to get more out of this lifetime.
The Women of Change phenomenon. Leave your own mark on the world.
For more information about the Women of Change cruise and upcoming events, please visit our website at womenofchange.org.
Greenback is your neighborhood lender for auto title loans. We offer fast and easy cash title loans for cars, trucks, and motorcycles. Keep your car with title loans from $100 to $50,000. There are no year or mileage limits at Greenback, and we offer the cheapest rates in Arizona, guaranteed. For more information, visit greenbacktitleloans.com or call 480-926-6666.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. You are listening to Unlock Your Wealth Radio, and I am your purveyor of prosperity, Heather Wagenhals, and I am so excited. We have been talking with Dr. Marissa Pei, or Dr. Marissa, as she is known, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. And before the break, we were talking about the critical committee in our head, and the only time I can get them to shut off is when I go do yoga, because once you get twisted in that pretzel and you're balanced on 3 toes, if you're not focused on exactly what you're doing 100%, you're going to fall over and get hurt. And that's about the only time where I can ditch all of the chatter.
Right. Well, I have another way that doesn't require actually going anywhere. You can do it where you are. And it works effectively with my committee in my head. And I have a CEO that thinks it knows everything you should be doing. I have a CFO that worries about money all the time. And I have an auditor that's very critical, that is constantly slapping me saying, you shouldn't have said this, you should say that, you should do this, you shouldn't have done that. So when that committee takes over, I immediately sit down where I am. I grab a notepad and a pen, and I use my life balance tool called a journal. And that journal is for my eyes only. And the first step is, as I said, get comfortable with something to write on. Try not to use blood, even though maybe banging your head against the wall a lot, but that's usually another sign that it's time to journal. So the second step is to pour out your heart and your head. So all those feelings, all those frustrations, all the pain, just whatever comes to your heart and to your head, you just begin to write. A lot of my clients say, well, I don't know what to write. If you're quiet and you take 3 big breaths and you try to meditate, I guarantee you a thought will come into your head. When you don't want it to, this is perfect. You take that thought and you release it onto the paper with your pen. And just free flow write. So that's the second step. The third step is don't judge, just write. You don't have to worry about grammar. You don't have to worry about spelling. Run-on sentences are a good thing. And just completely deplete everything that is filling up your mind with, in Eat, Pray, Love, they call it, Mr. and Mrs. Yammer and their children, blah, blah, blah. So get the blah, blah, blah out on the paper. Step 4, but I don't feel like doing this, then you adopt what one of my teachers at Dwayne Gain calls the gospel according to Nike. Just do it.
Ah, I like that.
Yes, one of my favorites. So just do it. So as soon as the thought comes to your head, I don't have time to do this. This is not doing me any good. This is silly. What if someone sees it? You just adopt the gospel according to Nike. That's step 4. Step 5, hit save draft and don't send.
Wow. Yay. There's the benefit of the auditor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a lot of emails to myself. They're under lock and key. Because I type faster than I write. So I also use this as a tool when someone really ticks me off. I go automatically into this is what I would love to say to you, but I won't. And then what it does is it releases that negative energy that you have, but you don't hurt yourself by making a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion. I love that thing.
Yes.
So when you're angry, and the statistics have shown that in every, I guess it's 7 seconds that you're angry, you lose 20 IQ points. So you do not want to communicate when you are angry or frustrated or disillusioned or hopeless. But you do want to write it out. You do want to honor what you're feeling and actually get it out on virtual paper or paper. But then please hit save draft.
Yes.
Not send.
Yes, absolutely.
So there's your 5 steps. There is one bonus step that comes with this little process, and that is, it's an interesting thing. The better you get at this, the more you are able to actually find the answers you're looking for in the creative space that gets opened up when you are journaling. So as you're writing out, sometimes I would say it takes 21 days to make a good habit. After the 21 days, you're going to be able to actually go into journaling and have a question, like, what should I do about this? And as you're writing out all of the things that you're thinking and feeling and aggravated about or frustrated about, at some point you're going to run out. And in that, just that little hiccup space that's usually between your in-breath and your out-breath, you will actually hear an answer. And that's called your intuition. That's part of your soul currency, part of your spiritual bank account, where you will be able to access that, 88% of your mind that we don't use, because you've emptied out everything that got in the way. So it creates that creative channel.
I think what's so amazing to me about what you're saying, Dr. Marissa, is that you don't hear this from regular psychologists, psychotherapists, or psychiatrists. you don't hear about this spiritual value, this cathartic experience quite in this way. I'm a big brain researcher and behavior researcher, and I'm just pleasantly surprised to hear these techniques that are very non-clinical, non-mainstream, but yet address all of those clinical mainstream issues that we fight every day. And I think about what you said about losing IQ points when we're angry. I mean, just the sheer biology of it is if you're angry, you're in fight or flight mode, and blood flow's not even going to your logic part of your brain, so you couldn't even be rational or reasonable if you wanted to.
Right.
Just
there is a middle point. It is not just that whole extreme business. And I love my teachers in psychology, and I'm actually my doctorate is in organizational psychology. So where human dynamics meets power, politics, miscommunication, and conflict in the workplace. So I have never wanted to be a clinical psychologist because I don't have the patience. That was a bad joke. But I and I'm not. I think there's tremendous value in that field of endeavor. I do believe, though, that we have locked ourselves into some thinking that isn't always true. There is a choice between fight or flight. That is the middle. There is a place, a center in every thinking or choice point called balance. And that's why I love what I do, is because I think people understand that do I have to either hate or love my work? Well, no, sometimes you're going to love it and sometimes you're not going to love it. But where you are in the middle with respect to what you're doing in that exact moment of what you're doing is the most important thing.
I agree with you, and I on this show I say that between stimulus and response there's a space. And that's where your power lies, is in that space.
Yeah.
Because you can choose. You can get ahead of that stimulus and say, you know what? I'm not going to let this irritate me. I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm not going to let it get the best of me. I am going to choose a different response.
Yes. That is the most underused human quality is called choice. It is the most undervalued or misunderstood PowerPoint that we all have as humans. And that's why I run the 21-day fast from complaining with Dr. Marissa, because we have a choice every day when we wake up, whether we choose to love or choose to see the good or complain. And if we let ourselves believe, because we turn the TV on, that everything is going to hell in a basket because of what's shown, or we get led down that little path, then we feel like we have no choice. But we have a choice, whether, when you're strong enough, you can watch TV and then actually say, there's like 1,000 good things that are happening that aren't shown. But in the meantime, I ask people to really make the choice, where do you want to go? As soon as you wake up, do you run around trying to get ready? Do you run around in traffic? Do you run around thinking that you're never going to have enough time, you're not going to finish things? And then you wonder where the time went and it's Christmas already? Or do we get up and just sit up in our bed and take a deep breath, close our eyes, and just spend 2 minutes relaxing into who we are, thinking about all the wonderful things that happened yesterday, thinking about all the wonderful things that we want to happen today, being grateful for all the things and all the people and all the wonderful aspects of this thing called life. Because that point of choice, after 2 minutes, is going to put you in a very different place for the rest of your day.
I totally agree with you. I set what I call my attitude of gratitude as I go to open my eyes and embrace the day. And perception is reality, and what you think about, you bring about. So if you feel abundant and if you're grateful for what you have, you will be abundant. And if you think about lack and what you don't have, then you're going to keep looking at all of the things that you don't have, and you're not going to find a way to have those things. So
yes, and that's the law of attraction that works just like the law of gravity or electricity.
Yes.
So absolutely, the more we find, I tell my clients all the time, put your life jacket on with a silver lining and you will be ready for an adventure called life.
I love that. You know, Dr. Marissa, I've gotten carried away and I've lost track of time. So if folks want to work with you on coaching, if folks want to read your books, or you also, we didn't even get to talk about your Qigong and all of that stuff. If folks want to get more Dr. Marissa, how do they do that?
Well, I have a website that's www.4balance, of course, .org. That's 4balance.org. And then every Tuesdays at noon, I have my own talk radio show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, and you can find that on my website as well.
Awesome. I love that title. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for being a part of our show today. And for those of you driving around without a pencil, never fear. UnlockYourWealthRadio.com is here. And all you have to do is surf over to Dr. Marissa's show page, and you can get all the linky links to her good stuff. Stay tuned, because we have so much more in store for you. You're listening to Unlock Your Wealth Radio with Heather Wagenhals. We'll be right back after this.
Commander Marty Logan here from the Top Gun Seminars. What I've learned over the years is that the most successful people in life have coaches to guide them along their chosen path. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Tony Stewart, Tom Hopkins, Kathy Colby all had coaches, whether it was their father, someone else's father, or another person who helped them to shape their desires into an achievable path to success with a system of accountability where quitting was the only way to fail. Each of these people had someone who didn't see them as they first were, but as the person inside they knew they could easily become. Financial coaching can be the single addition you need to become financially independent. Call the Unlock Your Wealth Foundation now for your free consultation. 1-866-966-9420. That toll-free number again is 1-866-966-9420. Or visit us on the web at www.unlockyourwealth.com.
I'm Heather Wagenhals. Too much month left over at the end of the money? Tired of paying off debt again like a slave? Then tune in to my 1-minute update on Fort Myers Beach Radio for your morning cup of money motivation. And for more tips, visit crackingyourmoneycode.com.
Looking to take your game to the next level? Maybe you're restless and not sure what to do next in your life? If networking to elevate yourself, looking for inspiration, or being somewhere in between relaxing and making it happen, then the Women of Change Cruise is for you. Join a team of elite women who will take your game to the next level, or help you find your game while surrounding yourself with welcoming, accepting women who will affirm, motivate, and inspire you to live your best life starting now. Space is limited. Surf over now and be a part of women just like you who refuse to settle for less and are looking to get more out of this lifetime.
The Women of Change phenomenon. Leave your own mark on the world.
For more information about the Women of Change cruise and upcoming events, please visit our website at womenofchange.org.
Greenback is your neighborhood lender for auto title loans. We offer fast and easy cash title loans for cars, trucks, and motorcycles. Keep your car with title loans from $100 to $50,000. There are no year or mileage limits at Greenback, and we offer the cheapest rates in Arizona, guaranteed. For more information, visit greenbacktitleloans.com or call 480-926-6666.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. You are listening to Unlock Your Wealth Radio, and I am your purveyor of prosperity, Heather Wagenhals. And it's that time again for our Keys to Riches segment. But first, we must check in with our Unlock Your Wealth protege, Lauren Rumpler, and find out how she's doing on her own path to prosperity. Lauren, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you for having me, Heather. It's nice to see you again.
I know. Well, at least see you in the auditory sense. See you again.
Absolutely.
So how are things going with your process for financial literacy?
Oh, I'm very excited. I'm learning so much doing this show, and I definitely think my finances have already improved.
Oh, okay. So give me some examples of what you noticed has changed for you.
Well, I've been considering the last week's Keys to Riches, and I've been trying to think about whether I've been trying to think more long term about my money instead of just using my emotions to make decisions about my wealth.
Awesome. So, when do you find that you get into an emotional state of mind about money, or like a values bind when it comes to do I spend or save? Can you take us through like an emotion you might experience when it comes to spending money?
Well, I have very deep emotions for my friends and spending time with my friends. So when they want to go out and do fun things, I want to do those things with them because I love seeing them happy. But I have to consider my own financial state in order to be able to properly manage my money in the long term. So I have to make decisions with my friends and tell them sometimes that I can't go. And a lot of the times my friends understand and we find something else to do. So that's been very valuable.
Oh, wow. You actually get them to be supportive of your wanting to save money, and they don't just say, oh, okay, well, later then. They actually say, all right, well, let's go do something that's not as expensive or free or something like that.
Yes. Well, as an objectivist, I'm drawn to people who are capitalist-minded and appreciate my savings and my thriftiness.
That's pretty awesome, that occurs. And since you brought up, objectivism, one of the things that can get us into some trouble as objectivists is that right that we have to enjoy the fruits of our labors. And how do we balance enjoying the fruits of our labors now as well as save for the future? And it's always kind of this tug of war. And do you notice at all that you or maybe some of your friends, while they can be supportive when they're logical, do they ever get impulsive and feel like you fly by the seat of your pants, or do you have that kind of in check?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all do it. We have certain emotional triggers that we're attached to. For me, it's my friends, and for other people, it's other things. It could be as significant as family to as small as just shoes or a brand. But we all have different emotional triggers. So yes, we're all subject to those emotional buys.
Now, you mentioned, first off, we started talking about friends and experiences. Are you more of an experiential person, or are you a stuff kind of person? Do you like to have things?
I enjoy both, but for me, it's mostly about experiences.
Awesome. That's so funny. I know that some of the people in the Atlas Society are the ones that kind of nicknamed you Mini-Me. And it's so funny because the more time I spend with you, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're the daughter I didn't have. Because I think, wow, that's totally like me. Because I'm like an experiential kind of person. I'd rather spend money doing cool things than necessarily having stuff. And I'm fortunate because my husband's a stuff guy as well as an experience guy. So I just let him use his money for the stuff. So I can save money. I don't have to. I don't have to spend money on stuff because he'll take care of that for me. So, so when it comes to your long-term plans, and you're a little bit more proactive than others. Today's key is about breaking the budget. So we haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to discuss this yet. But do you have a plan going forward? Do you have goals that you want to achieve, specific financial objectives?
Yes. Well, I just learned a new one. Apparently, I want to find a stuff guy.
Uh-oh. Wrong message. Wrong message for the listeners.
But, no, I want to think more long-term about my money because as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that it's about time for me to start looking at housing and starting a family and hopefully getting my dream career started. So, and maybe even starting my own business someday. So these are all long-term goals that will require large amounts of finance. And so, doing this show and thinking about how my emotions overwhelm me and make me think about short term instead of long term. I need to shift my emotions and think about how much more I would like to invest in my future.
Awesome. That's a neat way, a neat perspective to start taking things. Now, last week's key was hope for the best, plan for the worst, and that was kind of creating our financial fears, like what scares us most about money or the future. And have you given much thought about specific financial concerns that you might have that may or may not happen?
Oh, absolutely. I am constantly nervous about the housing market and taking out loans for a house. Because I'm one of those people that would enjoy being able to pay up front for a house, but that's becoming increasingly more difficult. It's always a fear of mine that I may never own a house. That's a definite reality in our economy today.
Mm-hmm. And so have you ever thought of taking and exploring that thoroughly, or is it just kind of you listen to the headlines and maybe make an assumption that might not be in your future?
Well, it's basically just listening and talking to the people my age around me and their fear, and I think their fear kind of perpetuates to me a lot, because I think that's a common fear for people my age to have, is that they're afraid their lives are never going to get started in that dream house that they want,
mm-hmm.
or that they're going to have to settle.
Right. So I wonder what would happen if you actually sat down with a real estate professional in your area or an area you wanted to live in and found out what property values were and different options that are available. So maybe owning a home might be a little unaffordable, but perhaps a condominium or a townhome or something like that might actually be in the cards. I wonder what would happen to your fear if you actually sat down with a real estate professional and explored that.
That's a great idea, Heather. That's good advice.
That's one way that you can face your financial fears and figure out, is it a rational fear? Because so many times we have irrational fears that keep us from chasing what it is that we say we truly desire. And so if it might not be realistic for you to do it today, they're like, oh yeah, you can buy a home, for $50,000. And you're like, well, I just barely have like $50, let alone $50,000. So, but once you know that, then you can create a plan to get where you want to go. And that was the beauty of last week's key is exploring those financial fears and moving forward with that. And so I'm excited. So I hope to check in with you in a future broadcast and give you a chance to explore with a real estate professional and find out if you can actually match that financial fear. Because, all fears that we have except for two are imagined or self-generated or imposed on us by others. We're only born with two fears, and that's the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Every other fear is learned. Now, don't touch a hot stove or you'll get burned. That's a good fear. But worrying about whether or not you might not be able to afford home ownership may not be a legitimate fear for you. So if you take that time and explore that. Now, we have this week's key, which is break the budget, and we're going to learn exactly how to fix our finances for good and get rid of that negative lacking mentality and actually move forward and create a healthy savings plan instead. Now, let's get on to this week's key, which is one of our most important keys, is break the budget. So all of that you've been doing with your second key in Take Action, Make Assessment, we're going to open up those assessment envelopes today. But before we do, I want to give you the method behind the madness when it comes to breaking the budget. And the reason why we break budgets here on purpose is because they're inherently bad and restrictive when it becomes a personal thing. Business creates budgets, but when we make it personal, we internalize it in a completely different way. And the word budget is, a French word, budget, which is like a small little cocktail handbag. And so only a few things can fit into it, like your lipstick, your credit cards, and your car keys, and with, smartphones as big as mine, I can't even stick it into a small little budget that I carry. So, so budget has a negative connotation and it's inherently restrictive. And we usually go about figuring out our budgets the wrong way. We say, okay, I'm only going to spend this, I'm only going to spend that, and I'm only going to spend, this much on different categories, but we really have no idea what it really takes to be in those categories. That's why we did the assessment envelope in the fashion that we did, because I didn't want you to interrupt what was going on, because the only way to catch the problems, because behavior is subconscious, is we have to catch it as it occurs. And when we sit and think about it and we're not emotionally engaged in situations and we're rational and reasonable, we're not going to be able to think back to when we went nuts at the store and, went on an impulse buying binge. So what we have to do is we have to track things to see the when things happen, to identify the why and what triggers it so we can figure out the how to correct it. And so that's the important part about breaking the budget and doing the assessment in this fashion. So now that you're here, you can get out your assessment envelope, because what we're going to do is we're going to create a healthy savings and spending plan instead. And it's a mindset shift. Thank you. Well, I woke up Michael. He's paying attention now. Now that we have a mindset shift, oh my gosh, it's like a tongue twister, isn't it? And we're, instead of being restrictive, we're going to create a healthy savings and spending plan. It's why we come off diets and we have a healthy exercise and eating plan. Okay. And that's set up that exact same way, exercise and eating, like I have savings and spending, for a reason. And it's because that, we need to be saving first. And so what we've got to do is identify what's going on in our lives. If we're saving, how much, why are we not saving more, or why are we saving too much? Because we might have some sort of spending or saving disorder that we might have to address too in the next coming shows. So with the budget being broken, we have to figure out what we do next. And, the reason why budgets fail, it's just like why a diet fails. When you starve yourself or abstain from something, it invites the cheat or it invites the binge. So what we have to do is find a happy medium. Okay. And we have to create balance in order to get there. And so we need to create this balance of what it is we want now and what it is we want for our future. And we have to figure out where that is. Remember, the brain is all about seeking pleasure and avoiding pain in the moment. And that's a subconscious drive that we have. And so we have to figure out when it's happening. So that's why what we're going to do is we're going to gather all of our receipts and we're going to sort them by category. And then we are going to tally them up for each category, because this is going to give you how you frame out your savings and spending plan. Well, specifically the spending part of it. Now, as we go through and start figuring out the when things happen, and it's usually a cyclical thing, because when we get paid, we have more money, we're flush with cash, and that's when we make our mistakes because we're feeling good, our egos are running high. And then by the end of the paycheck, we're bumming cigarettes, getting other people to buy rounds for us, and, we're having to forego or mooch or borrow in order to get to that next paycheck. And so we're going to identify some of these things. And then in next week's key, we're going to work on what we can do to overcome some of those things by knowing what our motivation is to spend. Now, once we create this healthy savings and spending plan, we want to do this with a few things in mind because we're going to find out we're going to have to trim things. The beauty of identifying a healthy savings and spending plan is you're probably going to get healthier along with getting wealthier, because when you see the frightening cost of tobacco and alcohol and excessive food spending and garbage and junk foods, you're going to wind up becoming healthier as well as wealthier when you do this. And the thing that we want to do, because budgets are restrictive and prohibitive, instead of doing that, as we look for the opportunity or to circumvent the opportunity to splurge and to eat that financial piece of chocolate cake that we've been walking back and forth past, what we need to do is, instead of saying, no, I can't have it, and further denying ourselves, creating the impetus to splurge that much higher, is to say, instead of no, say, not now. Or let's go even one better. Instead of saying no and not now, why don't we say how? How can I create this? Now I can set this as a goal to achieve. And if I can't afford this item right now, what's it going to take for me to afford this? And create a plan to get there. And then that way you have something to anticipate and look forward to with every dollar you set aside and save for it, instead of blowing things out of proportion and blowing your credit limits and carrying balances and unnecessary debt that you have to now pay interest on. Because let's face it, in this lifetime, we can do one of two things. We can earn and collect interest, or we can pay it. And if you've been in the latter group, you need to figure out a plan to start collecting it, or you are always going to have what you've always gotten. And if you're not currently happy with where you are, then you're going to have to change things to get where you want to go. And unfortunately, the pain of change, things won't change until the pain of change becomes less than the pain of staying the same. So you have to get completely uncomfortable with where you are financially. So hopefully, by breaking your budget and creating this healthy savings and spending plan, you can see exactly where it is that you're making your misgivings and poor judgments with regard to your savings and spending behaviors. And now you can work to retrain each and every one of those. And it's so exciting. So all you have to do is think about what your motivation is. Stop first and say, what is my motivation to spend? Do I really need this item? Or am I trying to fill a gap, like not feeling good enough, or wanting to be accepted, or avoiding being rejected, or trying to impress somebody? What is my motivation for this expenditure? Is it ego-driven or is it need-driven? And if we think of Maslow's hierarchy, needs are food, shelter, and water. And then after that, it grows, but it's all about becoming enlightened. And it's not about collecting stuff. So that's it for this week's key. Our key statement, key affirmation, and key action item is available at unlockyourwealthradio.com. Just click on the This Week's Key tab. And for more in-depth interviews with money experts, strategies, and members-only tools to fix your credit, get out of debt, and have more money and happiness, do what other savvy listeners have and visit unlockyourwealthradio.com, where you go to get your money mind right so your wealth and happiness will follow. Become an Insiders Club member today and start reviewing the benefits of Millionaire Wisdom. All you have to do is visit unlockyourwealthradio.com. Now, I'm Heather Wagenhals. Go out and unlock your wealth today.
UnlockYourWealthRadio.com is produced by Heather Wagenhals and the Unlock Your Wealth Foundation. UnlockYourWealthRadio.com and its affiliates are copyrighted 2013 with all rights reserved. For more information on the Keys to Riches Financial Wellness Series, please visit our website at www.unlockyourwealth.com.